11 minutes. 2,871 words. Pashinyan announced the next phase of construction of the new Ajapniak subway station in Yerevan. Could expand to suburbs in future. Pashinyan. The issue of building an Ajapniak metro station in Yerevan has long been discussed. It was part of our electoral campaign during the 2017 municipal elections. Pashinyan versus Taran Margarian. We have essentially launched the practical phase of this process. A tender was organized to design it. There is a winner. We will discuss the financial part today. We were going to use federal resources. But since recently a 850 meters corruption scheme was busted in Yerevan, we decided to use those recovered resources at this stage. This is a strategic project because it means the metro crosses the opposite bank of River Hrazdan, which means there is an opportunity for further branching to Davtashan, Malaysia Sebastia, 15th District, etc. Mayor Harachia. We've signed a contract with the designer. It will take 510 days and will be done in 3 phases. We have the funds for phases 1 and 2. I'd like to ask the government to provide resources for phase 3. Besides the new station, we have other problems that need to be addressed in Metro. No major capital investments have been made over the years. Please allocate resources for those as well. #Q and AMP. With Yerevan Mayor Harachia Sarkisyan. Reporter. The ruling party recently announced that Tigran Avinyan will lead the ballot during next year's municipal elections. Do you feel it's unjust? Harachia. No. I've been a deputy mayor and now mayor for 5 years. That's good enough. I can use my experience perhaps to help in other areas. Reporter. Will you stay in Yerevan administration if Avinyan is elected? Harachia. These discussions aren't that important right now. We will see next year. Reporter. There are street protests today. If Pashinyan loses the position, will you run for premier? Harachia. It's a false agenda that the premier is going to lose the position. I'm not going to discuss this topic. Families with 6+ children will receive a $200 per mo honorarium. Families who already have 6 or more kids were receiving a monthly honorarium that the government thought was too small. So they drafted a bill to increase it to 100k mo. It needed additional legal amendments to go into effect. Today the executive branch approved the necessary amendments. Judicial reforms. Government approves resolution to punish judges whose verdicts are overturned by international human rights courts. Govit report. We approved the bill that aims to increase the trust towards the judicial branch and sanctions judges who violated people's fundamental human rights. The resolution was presented to Venice Commission. We made significant structural amendments based on their advice. For example, the relevant body can file a case against the judge within a year from discovering the suspected violation, based on the examination of the International Court's findings. The statute of limitations is 15 years. Tags. #judicial reform. There is a serious problem in the education sector. Pashinyan. The gaps formed in childhood education may not be possible to fill later in life. Studies from 2019 show that illiteracy is creeping back. It seemed this problem was solved in the early 20th century. There are multi-layered problems. We have recorded that there are teachers in our general education sector who receive a monthly salary of 30 kelvins, $65. This is a systemic problem. The maximum they receive is 170 kelvins, $370. The salary increase is on our agenda. // Government approves new rules to raise teachers' salaries to up to $875 per mo. 400 kelvins. Last year the Govit launched a voluntary teacher attestation process. The idea was to allow skilled teachers to prove their skills and get a 30% to 50% raise in return. About half of the 1,000 teachers who took the test were able to score above 70%. Those who score 70 to 100% receive a 30 to 50% salary raise. *Govit. But there is one problem there. If the teacher is earning very little, even a 50% raise doesn't seem that much. So we decided to increase the base salary. The proposal is to set 200 kelvins, $440, as the new base for teachers who pass the test. A teacher with MEC Druk can earn 300 kelvins, $670. There are other ways to get a raise. So the teacher can end up earning 400 kelvins, $875. / Construction of new education project begins in Syonik, Pashinyan. We're implementing a new education model in Syonik. I instructed the construction to begin. This isn't just about building schools and kindergartens. It's also about transport infrastructure and roads. Context. It's about a multi-million-dollar project that will connect several rural parts of Syonik to education hubs. Closing curly bracket. #. We are preparing serious reforms in the military education field. Pashinyan. We'll have an opportunity to discuss it during one of the upcoming sessions. #. Russia seemingly contradicts claims that Armenia has agreed to surrender Nagorno-Karabakh. Russia's Maria Zakharova. Azerbaijan sent a 5-point proposal to Armenia and received a constructive response. This is a good opportunity to reach an agreement. As for the status of Nagorno-Karabakh, principled disagreements remain between Baku and Yerevan. / Russia's Maria Zakharova. Brussels attempted to take credit for what was agreed in Moscow earlier. / It is necessary to refrain from making confrontational statements during the normalization process. Russia's foreign ministry in response to a question about Aliyev's public threats toward Armenia. This is our traditional stance and we urge everyone to follow this principle. Added Maria Zakharova. She used the term Nagorno-Karabakh. For the record, # Russia bans another news website reportedly owned by Aliyev administration. Caliber is known for its anti-Armenian and anti-peacekeeper materials. It operates in Azeri, Russian, and Armenian languages. It joins the list of other prominent Azeri websites that have been banned in Russia since the beginning of the Ukraine war. # A meeting to discuss the unblocking of Armenia-Azerbaijan communication routes will take place soon. Russia. Russian MFA. Active efforts continue to unblock routes, demarcate the borders, and prepare a peace treaty. Erdogan expects relations to normalize and trade between Armenia and Turkey to resume soon. The Turkish president met representatives of ethnic minorities yesterday. One of the topics was the ongoing efforts to establish AMTR relations. Erdogan. The normalization process with Armenia continues. Soon trade will commence and problems will be resolved. We are in negotiations with Armenia. Hopefully, the borders will be opened and our relations will continue. / Armenia announced that the next meeting between the special envoys of Armenia and Turkey will take place in Vienna on May 3. # Day 4. Foreign Minister Mirzoyan and Indian colleagues discussed the transport of cargo from Mumbai to Armenia. Mirzoyan traveled to Mumbai after 3 days of talks with Indian officials and Premier Modi in New Delhi. In Mumbai, he visited the port operator, PSA Mumbai, to learn its history, how it operates, cargo transfer opportunities, and its connections around the world. They discussed technical details about cargo transfers from Mumbai to Armenia. On the same day, B2B meetings were held between Armenian and Indian businesses, including Tata Group and IHCL. Armenia and Iran discussed cargo transport. Armenia's finance minister hosted his Iranian colleagues in Yerevan on Thursday. They discussed the formation of favorable conditions for cargo transits, expansion of mutual trade, etc. Iranian delegation. We view Armenia as a gateway to Russia and EAEU. The new administration in Iran has new policies towards our neighbors, especially towards friendly Armenia. They also spoke about new joint investment projects. Iran's participation in the construction of an industrial hub in Armenia, logistics improvements, simplification of cargo transfers, etc. The governments of Armenia and Iran will hold a larger meeting soon. Tax waivers were granted to businesses to invest $1.2 billion in Armenia. Ceranist will import machinery to melt materials for glass production. They produce glass containers. Green Prod will import materials for cheese production. Founded in Armavir in 2020. They plan to build a factory in Yerevan. Continue in Yerevan. Parliamentary opposition parties and their allies launched the protests on Monday. They demand Pashinyan's resignation. Dozens of participants were detained today for blocking traffic in various parts of Yerevan. Small groups continue to march from various parts of Armenia to Yerevan. The head of Antares publishing agency was attacked during the protests, but wasn't beaten. He said bottles were thrown at him. The police asked him to leave to prevent an escalation. There were calls to find and arrest the alleged attackers. Ranking from Serge's HHK administration joined Arthur Vanetzian today. They held a march and expressed hope that the number of participants will increase soon. The rector of privately owned Northern University kicked out the protesters who attempted to enter and hold a flag installation event. The rector got agitated when he was told it's treason not to allow for Artsakh's flag to be installed. He said it's private property and they should leave. Trial resumes against ex-president Serge Sarkisyan, accused of agricultural fuel embezzlement. The case was launched 3 years ago when the director of one of the fuel companies came forward with a report. He was called to testify as a witness today. Witness. In 2013 I was invited to take part in an auction to deliver fuel. The lowest price was offered by Mixure Company, followed by us. Flash, owned by Serge's friend, had offered the highest price. The director of Mixure called me and said he won the auction. But then everything changed. A few days later we learned that Flash was declared the winner. I got an angry call from Flash, telling me that I'm Zarukyan will soon present 12 designs for Jesus's statue. The Jesus Commission has filtered out the unholy designs and came up with 12 saints. A week-long public discussion will begin on Thursday. Death to COVID. 0 deaths. 3 infected. 216 healed. 2,546 tested. 1739 currently sick. Unvaccinated workers no longer have to get a PCR test once a week. No negative PCR test or vaccination required when entering Armenia. Fewer documents will be needed to enter Armenia via land and air beginning May 1. Hanvelu e Samani Kamakayan ev Odanavakayanaram Tegadervak Ankman Keteram Muk Gorsali PSR Erig. Axtarosman Testi ev Patvastman Certificat Nurkayaknelu Pahanj. Fewer COVID restrictions in prisons and the army. No need for PCR or VaxCard. The requirement to keep a 1.5 meter distance during events in schools and elsewhere is lifted. Minister Avanesyan. We had 144 infections within the past 2 weeks. A 32% drop from the previous period. Fewer deaths were recorded. I'd like to thank doctors for their work. An uptick in the number of vaccinations in past week. Healthcare Minister Avanesyan. 50% of Armenian citizens have received the first dose. 44% of adult citizens are fully vaxxed. 50,000 people are boosted. Vaccines played a very important role in reducing the disease globally. Regardless of easing the restrictions, we will continue boosting with all possible means. You can find the vaccines in clinics, mobile sites, and in form of home visits. Pashinyan. Don't let your guard down. Today there are citizens in China who live under lockdown. And no one can say what will happen tomorrow. We have a wide range of vaccines in Armenia. We have also given an opportunity to foreign citizens to get a vaccine. / completely transformed, St. Gregory Illuminator Medical Center will open its doors in coming days. Healthcare Minister. Plus several medical centers in provinces. We took advantage of the COVID crisis to make serious investments in medical centers. To rebuild and renovate. Dozens of centers have been transformed despite these tense years. Pashinyan. In fact, we have never had a state hospital with this level of equipment inventory. Under the context of pandemic, we provided financial resources to acquire modern equipment for St. Gregory. Another important event was the activation of the accelerator at the Institute of Physics. It produces isotopes that are used for the early detection of cancer. They have practical use in the healthcare system. / anti-corruption. Chief accountant and directors at National Center for Infectious Diseases are charged with wire fraud. Update. Wire fraud and abuse of power. Investigative committee reports. The accountant took advantage of the fact that the directors had neglected their duties. In 2019-2020, he used the passcode provided by banks to steal 106 meters in hundreds of small installments. Disguised as legitimate transactions. The accountant recovered the stolen amount during the investigation. He is facing criminal charges. One of the directors is also charged. The second director has left the country. He is placed on the wanted list. / serious question. Is an electrical substation supposed to have a wooden roof? Firefighters were dispatched to extinguish the in Yerevan suburb Nurkin Charbak. / video. Large fire breaks out at an industrial facility in Sumgayit, Azerbaijan. / update. New system is being introduced to conduct regular safety checks of cylinders in gas-powered vehicles. In December, the government approved a new process to require gas vehicles to undergo mandatory safety checks every 2 to 3 years to prevent explosions. It will also help authorities to finally learn how many gas vehicles exist in Armenia. A public tender was launched and a winner has been chosen to create a centralized electronic database that will hold information about the vehicle's cylinder checks. It will be accessible to police and relevant agencies. / the public transport in Yerevan will be supervised by a new control center. Mayor Haratia. The city will launch a special control center tasked with supervising public transport. The buses are equipped with cameras. We will have operators who will monitor in real time. It's being tested. Ready by October. / There have been numerous complaints about bus drivers violating rules relating to traffic, cash fares, and smoking. Riders had also expressed concerns about pickpocketing. The city wants to use cameras to discourage illegal acts. / countrywide Sabatoriak are back after a long break caused by COVID. The government won't do their job of keeping the streets clean. So they want to use slave labor to collect the trash. Your favorite childhood tradition from USSR. Infrastructure Minister Sanasayan. Virgin Terinaran Coronavirus het Kapvak Hamapetikan Sabatoriak C Kazmakerpval. Now we're working with partner agencies to draw a plan of action. The weather might be a problem, though. In areas with unfavorable weather conditions it will be postponed by a week. Please do take active participation. Pashinyan. In the past, we've observed the collected trash being dumped from one location to another. It should be moved to a landfill. It will be organized this Saturday. Armenia will host yet another international sports tournament. Junior Sambo World Championship 2023 joins the Adult European Boxing 2022 and European Weightlifting 2023. Sambo Federation was happy to learn the news. A tournament of such a scale has never taken place in Armenia. Yerevan's Homolir will obviously be the host venue. 2,500 athletes and staff from 70 countries will arrive. Internet kills then revives a world-famous soccer agent. Mino Raiola was admitted to a hospital in January and is in serious condition. It's not true. He is not dead. But he is fighting for his life, said a business partner. Raiola took to Twitter to toast the tweetheads who claimed he was headed to hell. Current health status for the ones wondering. Pissed off second time in 4 months they kill me. Seem also able to resuscitate. Theatrical Poster Festival will be held in Armenia for the first time. Designers and artists from around the world can participate for free. It's a competition. An international jury will choose winners who pass the qualification round. Hundreds of designers from 23 countries have already submitted their designs. The winners will be featured in Sundukyan. It's a joint project by the Education Ministry, Sundukyan Theatre, and AKS Cultural NGO. Today in History. 1920. Soviet Socialist Republic of Azerbaijan is founded. 1945. Benito Mussolini is shot dead by a member of the resistance movement. 1945. Germany uses gas chambers one last time to execute 33 socialists and communists. 1952. Treaty of San Francisco comes into effect. Peaceful relations are established between Japan and the Allies. 1967. Vietnam War. Boxing legend Muhammad Ali refuses his induction into the U.S. Army and is stripped of his championship and license. 1978. Afghan President Daud Khan is overthrown and assassinated by pro-communist rebels. 1986. Sweden detects radiation coming from Chernobyl Lepak. In case you missed yesterday's news in by Impossible Ad. Archive by Donate to Armenia and AMP. Artsakh. The accused are innocent unless proven guilty in a court of law. Even if they appear guilty,